Hello Anglophonians! Time to go back in history in the year 50 BC or something like that. Yes, we meet Asterix again, and today's story is called Asterix and the Banquet, and it is a prime example for how to do, well, not only history lessons but geographical lessons in a comic, so that children can learn something about their own country. So let's look at Asterix and the Banquet.
The story begins with an unpleasant visit to the Roman camp compendium. The Inspector General, over-anxious, arrives and declares that he has been commissioned by Julius Caesar to settle the problem of the rebellious Gauls once and for all. Having no idea who he is dealing with, he organizes a broad attack on the Gaulish village. Although the legionnaires first try to evade the attack by taking sick leave, in the end they have to go along with it. However, thanks to the Gauls' magic potion, the attack goes exactly as you might expect. It turns into a disaster. But Overanxious has a new idea. If the Gauls cannot be defeated, at least they can be imprisoned, so that they are no longer a problem for the Roman Empire. So he has a wooden palisade built around the Gaulish village. Asterix angrily explains to Overanxious that they are free Gauls and can go wherever they please, and he proposes a game to the Roman. Asterix and Obelix will breach the palisade and undertake a journey across Gaul to prove that no Roman can stop a Gaul. At the end of the journey, they will return to the village. To prove that they have been to all the places in Gaul, they will bring and present local specialities. Overanxious agrees. Should the Gauls succeed in making the journey, he will have the palisade broken off, return to Rome and admit defeat. Asterix immediately starts planning. His trip will be a true Tour de France, a Tour de Gaul if you will. Asterix and Obelix break through the stockade and are on their way. On their journey, they are pursued by Roman patrols who want to arrest them, but they are also helped by the local population. They also take another passenger with them on the way, without knowing it. A small white dog, sitting in front of a butcher's shop. This dog should play an increasingly important role in future adventures. Then let's look at the route first. To do this, let's take a look at the map that Asterix draws, which of course is far too advanced for its time. Not even the Druids of 50 BC would have known what their country looked like from above, not to mention that these are the borders of 20th century France. But in fact, we can see exactly where the Gaulish village is supposed to be, and the stations that Asterix has drawn are former Celtic Roman cities that can still be visited today. Let's follow the route. The cities are as follows. The Gaulish village, Rotomagus, today Rouen, Lutetia, Paris, Camaracum, today Cambrai, Durocortorum, today Reims, Divodurum, today Metz, Lugdunum, today Lyon, Nicae, today Nice, Massilia, today Marseille, Tolosa, today Toulouse, Aginum, today Agen, Burdigala, today Bordeaux, Gesocribatum, today Le Conquet. And finally, they are back at their own village. The inspiration for Asterix's journey and this particular race naturally came from the Tour de France. In the original, the story is therefore also called Tour de Gaul, Le Tour de Gaul d'Asterix. Along with the Giro d'Italia and the Vuelta a España, the Tour de France is one of the major national tours, the Grand Tours. The Tour de France has been held in July every year since 1903 and leads through France and neighboring countries in changing routes. And we are right in the middle. The Tour de France 2023 is the 110th edition. The race started on July 1st, 2023 in Bilbao. The finish of the last stage should be reached on July 23rd, 2023 in Paris on the Avenue des Champs-Élysées. In 2023, the riders will complete 3,404 kilometers over 21 stages. The program includes 8 flat, 4 hilly and 8 mountain stages, as well as an individual time trial. 4 stages should end with a mountain finish. There are 2 rest days in between. In fact, France tops the table with the most victories in the Tour de France. When Asterix and the Banquet was published in Pilote, French rider Jacques Anquetil was at the height of his career. He won the Tour a total of 5 times, once in 1957 and then 4 consecutive times in 1961 to 64. To date, no rider has won the Tour more than 5 times in his career. Jacques Anquetil shares his record with compatriot Bernard Hinault, Belgian Eddy Merckx and Spaniard Miguel Indurain. So 5 times is the record? No, actually not quite, and with that we have to come to the dark side of the Tour, because under normal circumstances Lance Armstrong would have to hold the record with 7 wins. The fact that he doesn't do this has to do with the fact that his victories were stripped of him after a doping scandal. Doping at the Tour has been an issue since 1924. With its 3,500 kilometers of route, the Tour is the toughest challenge that a cyclist can face. It is clear that this takes people to their limits and beyond. Some then want to improve their own physical condition. But not only were there several scandals on the Tour, for example in 1998, 2006 or 2009, but also the first fatality from doping in 1967. Tom Simpson died during the stage on Mont Ventoux after taking amphetamine and alcohol. Wow, this has really taken a dark turn now. How is the current Tour de France going? Well, back to Asterix, back to something lighter. As already mentioned, you can experience the different areas of France in this comic book. Uderzo and Goscinny have fun parodying the clichés that exist about every region. For example, the inhabitants of Normandy cannot give an exact answer and always say something like maybe or not. In Lutetia, that is Paris, the Gauls are stuck in traffic. Or the fact that many big city dwellers line up for summer vacation to go to the Mediterranean coast. In one scene, 2 travelers heading towards the sea, whose carts are blocking each other, get into an argument. One doubts that the other is a real man, to which the other says, "I was in the war, sir. Yes, I was in Gergovia." On the one hand, this is a historical allusion to the place Gergovia, where Julius Caesar in 52 BC tried in vain to take the oppidum at a high plateau, where the Gallic troop under Vercingetorix had entrenched themselves. His army suffered heavy casualties in this Battle of Gergovia. On the other hand, it is of course a reference to the Second World War, which was only 17 years ago at the time, and to the fact that many veterans were proud of their resistance to the German occupying power. Then there's a scene in a bar in Marseille. Caesar, the owner of the tavern, and his guests are borrowed from the so-called Marseille Trilogy, a film series by French filmmaker Marcel Pagnol. The landlord himself is a caricature of the actor Rému in the role of César. The films of the Marseille Trilogy are Marius from 1931, Fanny from 1932 and César from 1936. And finally, let's talk about the little white dog that sits in front of a butcher's shop and follows Asterix and Obelix to the end of the adventure. This dog was actually intended as a gag, since René Goscinny actually didn't want any pets in the series. This is also why we see the dog leaving the village in the last panel of the comic, after finally getting a bone. But the audience loved the dog, so Goscinny and Uderzo decided to keep him as their mascot. Obelix should take care of him from now on. But the dog needed a name. Without further ado, a competition was announced in the magazine Pilote. The winner was the name Idéfix, from the French idée fixe, meaning fixed idea or to be obsessed with something. In the English version, his name became Dogmatics, a pun of dog and dogma, together with the mandatory suffix "x". Since a dogma is also an idea that one does not want to give up, that also fits. Dogmatics will play a role in future adventures from time to time. In the 1970s, he even got his own series of picture books, from which a total of 15 stories were published. These stories were aimed at a significantly younger audience and weren't as sophisticated as the Asterix comics. In 1983, 2 more editions of the stories were published before they fell into oblivion. It wasn't until 2021 that Dogmatics got its own stories again, this time in the form of regular comics. The other books were more or less illustrated stories. The series is entitled Idéfix et les Irréductibles, that is, Dogmatics and the Indomitables, and tells of Dogmatics and his friends. In addition, it was announced in 2021 that this series would also be produced as an animated show. Dogmatics is a terrier, and already in the next Asterix adventure, one has to ask himself how it would have ended if the little white dog hadn't existed.
So there you have it. Asterix and the Banquet, and the trio Asterix, Obelix and Idéfix is now complete. So, until next time, surround yourself with nice people, stay safe, stay healthy, and see you